Good morning, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Good morning to the rest of you. Melissa and I are here today from drjackers.com, and we're going to be talking about the 12 best heart healthy foods. So, it's kind of funny. The whole paradigm of how we think of heart disease has really changed in the past, I would say, what do you think, 8 to 10 years or so? Melissa,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? Yeah. And that whole idea of fat's bad for us, that fat causes heart disease. I think that there's been enough science and enough evidence that has come out to be able to really put this myth to rest. So Melissa and I are going to talk today about, what causes heart disease? What are some of the things we have to worry about? What are the things that can protect us from heart disease? So anyone who is suffering from heart disease or has a loved one, or if you're have a friend or whatever it is, hopefully you'll be tuning in and you can learn something from us today. So Melissa's going to start off and talk about causes of heart disease.
Hello, everyone. Yes, we're going to talk about the heart today because it is heart disease is the leading cause of death for both men and women in the United States. So it's a really important topic. And we've been going through organs. We talked about the liver and the kidneys, and now we're going to talk about your heart. Coronary artery disease is the most common type of heart disease, and that's when plaque builds up in your arteries, which reduces your blood flow to your heart. So causes of that are, chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation underlies most chronic diseases, and heart disease is definitely one of those. And how do we get chronic inflammation? This is that low-grade systemic inflammation. Danielle and I did a Facebook Live on that you guys can look on YouTube. We publish these to YouTube also. But your inflammatory foods, environmental toxins, those types of things definitely lead to inflammation. Also, stress. I really try to emphasize with all my clients, stress and sleep are as important as food. All of those can lead to inflammation. Sleep deprivation over time is definitely highly inflammatory. There's also lifestyle factors, and there was a great study that I found when I wrote this article that 46% reduced risk of heart disease with healthy lifestyle factors. So I shared that with my father who has heart disease. I'm like, you can make a difference. There's things you can do to make a difference. So eating healthy, which I'm going to talk about some more later, definitely one. Not being sedentary, get out and exercise. Even if you're just walking, it's important to exercise. Of course, do not smoke. Smoking is highly associated with heart disease. Another reason, I think every week when we talk about things that cause liver disease or kidney disease, because those are your two filters, smoking is always one of those culprits. So, break that habit. It's just critical to do that. High sugar intake. I'm going to talk about that some more later when I talk about the worst foods for heart disease, because that is linked in studies to be associated with heart disease. So definitely some things, that you can do to make a difference.
Absolutely. That was great. Thank you, Melissa, for that intro. That was awesome. So now I'm going to talk about, is cholesterol heart healthy? Even our conservative dietary recommendations from our government have actually lifted the limits of cholesterol. I think we used to only be able to eat like a total of 3 or 4 eggs a week, according to the government, as what would be considered healthy. And even they have lifted that because they've discovered that consuming cholesterol doesn't exactly increase one's cholesterol levels. That we actually have a mechanism, unless we have what's called familial hypercholesterolemia, we actually have a mechanism within our body. Many people don't realize that our body actually makes cholesterol. And so that when we consume it, we sort of down-regulate the production of cholesterol. And I often try to explain to people, do you think that our body would make something that was actually bad for us? And it kind of helps people understand that premise in and of itself is probably something that if that helps disprove the whole theory that cholesterol is actually bad for us. So cholesterol in and of itself eating cholesterol doesn't actually raise our own cholesterol. We need cholesterol for so many different things in our body. You know, one is to improve hormone regulation, to make hormones, whether it's sex hormones, to make vitamin D, to help line the membranes of different cells. It also helps make the myelin sheath around our nerves, helps protect our internal lining of our arteries from inflammation and oxidative stress. It also helps change the particle numbers from the dangerous particle numbers to the more benign ones. So consuming cholesterol and saturated fat can actually be really, really healthy and protective of our body against heart disease. So now Melissa is going to talk a little bit about an anti-inflammatory diet. Melissa, I feel like you always get to talk about this one.
I know,
you must got this one down.
And I do always talk about this. I love what you said about cholesterol being protective, though. I feel like we need to put some billboards out on the highways because people never hear that. Cholesterol is always vilified. And I know people are coming around, but there's so much misinformation still out there, and people just don't have that knowledge. So it's really critical to get cholesterol in the diet. It's not something to be afraid of. The anti-inflammatory healing diet, I talk about that, I write about that all the time, but basically you're replacing the highly processed, high sugar, refined carbohydrates, toxic fats, and conventionally raised meat and dairy with real whole food. So vegetables, really love organic whenever you can. Of course, I've talked about the environmental working groups, Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. So that's a list you can go to know which ones you really need to spend that extra money on to get organic, and those that you really don't have to because they don't have the pesticide levels. Also the clean sourced meat, so grass-fed dairy, grass-fed beef and dairy, and then also your pastured organic chicken. And it always comes up in my shopping tours, which chicken, because there's so many different labels on chicken. There's natural, there's pastured, there's all these different things, but I really want to know what they're fed. And if you're buying organic, you know it's non-GMO feed and you know it's organic feed. So I like organic chicken. I think that's important. The eggs, especially, you know, looking at the difference in the eggs. There's some great brands out there that I love to compare, show kids the difference in the conventional egg and the pastured egg, because the pastured is that dark orange yolk and you can just see the vitamins, and you can see how much healthier it is than that light yellow in the conventional egg. So definitely it's just replacing those pro-inflammatory foods with anti-inflammatory healing foods, and looking at the foods you eat as nourishment for your body.
Yeah, I mean, there's that whole saying of everything we put in our mouths either cause inflammation or decreases inflammation. So
Yes.
there's something to be said about that for sure. So now Melissa and I are going to kind of go back and forth and talk about some of the biggest and best heart healthy foods. And the first one, I'm sure most of you are not all that surprised, is coconut oil. So coconut oil contains medium chain triglycerides, or MCTs. And one of the biggest benefits of MCTs is that it provides immediate energy without affecting our blood sugar levels. So those of you who practice like intermittent fasting and you want to like consume something first thing in the morning to give you a little bit of energy, say you're going for a workout or a walk, or you're just feeling like a little lightheaded and you want to have some sort of energy, you know, MCT oil is one of those things you could put in your coffee. You could do the grass-fed butter, things like that. Another thing that I really like about coconut oil is that it has lauric acid in it. And lauric acid is antifungal, antiviral, and really the only other place you find it is breast milk. So I always found that to be a really, really cool thing. It's like if our breast milk for our babies is producing lauric acid, you know lauric acid is a really, really good compound. So get plenty of coconut oil. I always tell people to aim for at least 2 to 4 tablespoons a day. And that's generally probably what I do. you know, between olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, and coconut oil, I try to get at least 4 altogether between the 2 of them. I think it really helps people feel satiated. Another great thing about coconut oil is that it's super stable. It doesn't oxidize because it's a saturated fat. And it's one of the only vegetable forms of saturated fat out there, because most saturated fat comes from animal products. So coconut oil is found to increase HDL levels, which is our good cholesterol, decrease triglycerides, which we know are not our friend, triglycerides. We'd like to try to keep our levels kind of below 75 is what would be ideal, 40 to 75. And then the best way to shop for coconut oil is looking for virgin, unrefined, organic coconut oil. Sometimes people say, and this is found solid, right? So some people say, oh, I went to Walmart or I went to whatever, and I saw that they have a liquid coconut oil. I say stay away from that stuff. Like it's not natural. It's been refined to such a degree because coconut oil really only turns liquid after it's over, I think, 74-ish degrees. So it's really got to be warm out. And as we know, most grocery stores are not warm. So I would say it's best to buy in its solid form, and you want it to smell like coconut. If the coconut oil you buy does not smell coconutty, that's not the one you want. That's the refined one. And it's been processed in such a way that it ends up not offering us the same benefits and actually could probably be harmful to us. So let's see. Let me look at a couple of different comments we have here. Stuart Mitchell is saying hello to us. Am I able to get that up? Oh, they've got a new little button now. Okay. So hi, Stuart. How are you? Thanks for joining. And then he said something about, I believe, wormwood is a genetic bomb that kills the heart. Huh. Interesting. Wormwood. That's like, is that like, are you talking about wormwood, the supplement? I don't know. Melissa, do you know what he's talking about?
Wormwood is an antimicrobial in a lot of parasite protocols. And
yeah. So he thinks it kills the heart. Interesting. I'm not sure about that, Stuart, but thanks for sharing with us. We'll have to check that out. And then Christine is saying, totally agree with consuming MCT oil. Thanks for sharing, Christine. So now Melissa's going to tell us about the benefits of Hawthorn Berry.
Hawthorn Berry is it's used very widely in Europe for heart disease. It basically is loaded with a lot of antioxidants, including flavonoids, which are polyphenols that help decrease inflammation and boost your immune system. So really great for heart disease. I recommend looking for the whole plant because the leaves, flowers, and berries, they have different amounts of different compounds in them. So looking for a whole plant product, you'll be able to get all of that in one.
Cool. Yum. I can say that I don't think I've ever had a Hawthorn berry. Have you?
No.
And
I've never heard of it before I researched this article.
Yeah. And I wonder, like, I don't even know, like, can we buy them? I mean, I know we could buy like dried goji berries, and those offer a lot of really good health benefits, but Hawthorn berries, I think I feel like I've only seen it in supplement form. I wonder if we could actually find berries, Hawthorn berries here. But they're big in Europe, you said, huh?
Yeah, widely used, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Let's see. The next thing I'm going to mention is grass-fed butter. Everyone knows that grass-fed butter is much better. Maybe not everybody, but Dr. Jocker's listeners know that grass-fed butter is much better for us than conventionally raised butter. And, you know, I love when I give talks to people and talk about the difference of grass-fed butter versus conventionally raised butter. I like to show them pictures from the internet. So if you just go Google grass-fed butter versus conventional butter, you can actually see a side-by-side photograph of the difference in color. The grass-fed butter has so many more vitamins in it, lots more vitamin A, K2, D, many more omega-3 fatty acids in it. And so when a cow consumes the grass, you don't really think of grass as having like beta carotene in it because it's got the chlorophyll, but the beta carotene is hidden. That orange color that would be there otherwise is hidden by the chlorophyll. But what it does is it getting in all that beta carotene actually changes the color of the milk. I love to go in Maine, where my partner lives, and I live part-time, at the local health food stores. I actually sell raw grass-fed milk. And it's just so amazing to go in there and you see the color up against the other milks, and it's just screaming at you at how much better it is for you. So other things that are contained in the grass-fed butter would be butyrate, which is like a great direct source of energy for the heart. It also offers lots of digestive benefits. We need butyrate in our digestive tract. Some of our bacteria make butyrate to help recreate healthy enzymes in our digestive tract. Conjugated linoleic acid, arachidonic acid. These things have been shown to like reverse atherosclerosis, reduce belly fat. So all sorts of great heart healthy benefits. So butter is not bad for us. Butter is great for us. The things that aren't great, but grass-fed butter is great for us. I wouldn't go as far to say, you know, I tell people like, don't buy the Land O'Lakes butter. That's not good butter, and definitely stay away from the margarines. So grass-fed butter is where it's at, and it's got, you know, a decent. I didn't mention this with the coconut oil, but coconut oil has a pretty high heat tolerance, and grass-fed butter would be below that, but still has a decent heat tolerance, especially grass-fed ghee, which would be, you know, just the oil part of grass. I'm sorry, of butter, of grass. Go ahead, Melissa, and talk to us about dark leafy green veggies and some strawberry benefits.
Yes, they're both very good for heart health. And it's really no surprise. I mean, we pretty much know that those dark leafy greens and all our cruciferous vegetables, they are, you know, full of vitamins and minerals and fiber. Antioxidants protect us from free radical damage, which can lead to heart disease. So really great to eat as much as you can a day. I mean, I really encourage my clients to have at least half a plate when they fix their plate. At least half should be veggies. So lots of phytonutrients, carotenoids, flavonoids, all those very healthy anti-inflammatory compounds. They help detoxify the body. Important to eat it with fats because they do have some of those fat-soluble vitamins in them that we need the fat to help absorb the nutrients. Mm-hmm. Strawberries, you know, they're low glycemic fruit. The others are blueberries and blackberries and raspberries, but those are generally the fruits that I recommend people have because they don't interfere with your blood sugar. They help to keep it stable rather than those swings that people will get from, you know, during the day. Also, they're loaded with antioxidants. You know, colorful fruits are just amazing. All those, when you look at the color, you know you're eating nutrients. So incorporate them in your smoothies. Have a bowl of berries after dinner for dessert instead of, you know, some processed dessert. It's much healthier and you'll still get that sweetness. You know, now's not berry season, so it's a great time to buy frozen berries. They still have the nutrients. They usually freeze them very quickly. And so sometimes they retain more nutrients than fresh because fresh are shipped. So don't be afraid of frozen too.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got about 30 pounds of frozen blueberries in my freezer that I picked this summer. So yeah, we go into that often. My girls love, you know, they do what you're talking about. They'll just grab a bowl of frozen blueberries after dinner and just eat them plain, frozen. They love it. Great. So let's see. Now I'm going to talk about dark chocolate and pecans. Pecans are really high in monounsaturated fat, also high in vitamin E, which is this particular vitamin E is tocopherols. And things like this really help with decreasing the risk of cardiovascular disease. I think there was one study, I can't remember exactly who did it, but I remember hearing about a study several years ago that folks who have a handful of nuts every day decreased their risk for cardiovascular disease. I can't remember the number, but it was very significant. And it was like, wow, like eating a handful of nuts a day can really protect us from heart disease. And that's a pretty easy, simple thing to do. I really like to go to Trader Joe's, which I went to last night, because they have organic nuts that are not terribly expensive. So I'll go and I'll buy, my favorite are cashews and almonds and pecans and macadamia nuts. And I'll just mix them all together. And, you know, my girls will take them to school, or that they'll just snack on them. So, you know, pecans help decrease triglycerides, raise our HDL. And then chocolate. Chocolate's everyone's favorite. I bought some of this at Trader Joe's last night too. I love buying organic, like 80% chocolate is my favorite. You know, at least you want to buy 70, 72% or higher, because the more cacao that's in it, the less sugar that's going to be in it. And the more cacao that's in it, the more antioxidants, like the flavonoids and the polyphenols, all of that is going to be increased in the higher percentage of chocolate. Chocolate helps decrease blood pressure, helps prevent oxidation of our LDL cholesterol, and it also increases production of nitric oxide, which could be great for sex with males, impotence issues, and also heart disease. So again, stick to that minimally processed, over 70% dark chocolate. Never mind.
I combined the pecans with the dark chocolate for you today, because one of my favorite snacks is having the chocolate, you know, just a square of chocolate with a pecan on top, and just so delicious.
That sounds great, Melissa. I'm gonna have to try that one. I was thinking of drizzling some melted chocolate over like blueberries or raspberries as a nice dessert too.
Yes. Turmeric was the next thing we were going to talk about, and turmeric is great for your heart. It's got anti-inflammatory properties, and you know, there's so many studies out there showing the benefits of turmeric. It's like every time I research a different condition, turmeric's one of those things. The active compound is called curcumin, and it's got antioxidant, antimicrobial properties, so just really protective. And it actually protects against changes that occur with atherosclerosis. So it helps balance cholesterol by eliminating excess LDL from your arteries and your blood vessels. A lot of people don't realize that. And it's also been shown to reduce cardiotoxicity and prevent cardiac complications. So really important nutrient to add for your healthy heart.
I've been drinking the turmeric ginger tea that you can buy, and it is just so delicious. And I try to have a cup every day in the afternoon instead of going for another cup of coffee. I'm like, okay, it's time for some anti-inflammatory tea, and it's really, really delicious. Again, something else you can get at Trader Joe's. So yum, yum. Next thing I'm going to talk about are avocados, as well as olives and extra virgin olive oil. So extra virgin olive oil is a lovely, lovely oil, but as we know, it's got a very low heat tolerance. So it's really best to use extra virgin olive oil room temperature. You know, drizzle it over your cooked vegetables, add it to a soup at the end, douse it all over your salads. Use it to make salad dressings. So these are the things that you want to use extra virgin olive oil for. If you're ever going to cook with it, what I have learned to do is add some grass-fed butter with the extra virgin olive oil. Like say you're cooking something Italian and you want that extra virgin olive oil taste to it, I'll add the butter, and it allows it to have a little bit higher of a smoke point, and it gives that extra virgin olive oil taste that we all love. And it allows for the garlic to not burn. So, you know, the other night I forgot what I made. Oh, I was making a sauce for our fish that I was making, and I used the butter with a combination of the extra virgin olive oil. It was really, really good. So olives are obviously where extra virgin olive oil comes from. Lots of fiber, lots of vitamin E and copper. Avocados, they actually contain the component glutathione, which before we've talked about being our master antioxidant, vitamin B, vitamin C, different phytochemicals. Avocados are filled with lots of fat and fiber. And like I like to say, fat and fiber help us feel full. Dr. Jockers loves to put avocados in smoothies. He also makes lots of puddings with them. And we have some wonderful recipes on our website. Guacamole, you know, there's nothing like eating. I love to eat, you know, cut up vegetables and dip them with guacamole. That's something we make often at my house. And then my kids will just take an avocado to school, and they bring a little pink Himalayan salt to put on it, and they just eat it. But if we're at home, we'll do a little pink Himalayan salt. We'll do lime juice, sometimes a little cayenne or paprika, and nutritional yeast. So I'll eat them just right out of their own little natural bowl and eat them that way. So yeah, avocados are some of my favorite. I think Dr. Jockers has said before that they buy about 20 a week in his family. So eat your avocados. I do try to encourage people to eat at least half an avocado a day. So avocados are great. Okay, Melissa, now that we've talked about some great foods, why don't you fill us in on some of the worst foods for your heart?
Absolutely. And I touched on this when I talked about the anti-inflammatory diet. So you definitely want to stay away from the refined sugars. There's many studies out there that show that a high sugar diet is associated with hypertension, high blood pressure, increased levels of triglycerides, obesity, and inflammation. So all of those things that are tied to heart disease are increased with refined sugars. Avoid food additives and preservatives, processed vegetable oils like canola and safflower. And you really got to look at labels for that, because a lot of things that look healthy at Whole Foods or different grocery stores, mayonnaises, salad dressings, different things have that canola oil as the main ingredient. Danielle talked a little bit earlier about margarine. We definitely want to stay away from trans fats, just very toxic to the body. And then the grain-fed meats, you know, I talked about how grass-fed is so much more nutritious. So definitely things we've already talked about several times, but just really important to avoid, because they really are the worst foods for your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Melissa, you called it with the things like mayonnaise. I mean, they're even doing things now where on the front of the label, they'll be like avocado mayonnaise or olive oil mayonnaise. But if you look, it's way down there in the ingredients. You know, the major one is that canola or the soybean. So yeah, you really have to check your labels. You can't just take that sort of front of the label as word, unfortunately, because, you know, it's a big marketing thing. You know, all these mainstream companies have finally come around, and they realize things like avocado and extra virgin olive oil are really good for us, but of course they're more expensive. So they're not going to just put them as the main ingredient in these products, because it's going to cost them a lot more money.
Yes, so restaurants are really bad about that too. They'll say they cook in olive oil, but what they do is they mix olive oil with the much cheaper oil, canola typically. And so that's actually what they're cooking in. And canola oil is one of those oils that when you cook with it, it oxidizes quickly. So really bad for your body. So really, yeah, I'm not saying don't eat out, but just maybe ask your waiter, or, you know, ask him to find out what are you actually cooking in. And if they are using that, then ask them not to for your meal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They even make these blends, you know, where they say an olive oil blend and it's like 10% olive oil, but, you know, it gives them the right, they think it gives them the right to say that it's olive oil. And yeah, it's unfortunate. So you do have to be your own health advocate, because unfortunately, you know, we live in a culture where the dollar's the bottom line. And so yeah, you've got to take care of yourself and really be your own health advocate. So thank you all for joining us today on this Wednesday. And Melissa and I will be back next week. I think we talked about doing the gut as an organ, and we're going to kind of like lump it all together and talk about gut health. So I hope that you will join us again next week. And Melissa, I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, dear. You too. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.